Excellent. An ale for me. And for my officers. In fact, ales for everyone.
10 Backward. With Rick and Will and Gemma.
Oh, yes.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of 10Backward, a Star Trek podcast from merry old England. I'm Rick Palmer, and for this episode, I'm joined by my regular co-hosts, Will Turland.
Hello.
And Gemma Turland.
Hello.
Rick Everson isn't here. He's off gallivanting somewhere in Lincoln, maybe. So we got a very special guest co-host, Rob Chapman. Hello, Rob.
Hello.
And in this episode, we're discussing the third episode of the Star Trek Picard series. So, guys, what did you think of episode 3?
I thought it was rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. I'm kidding, of course. It was brilliant.
I knew you wouldn't be here to bring the podcast down, Rob. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I have a niggle with this episode though, in that I felt like the first episode was too pacey for me, and then the second episode was pacey enough, and then this episode, I felt like I wanted them to get into space already and start doing the things.
Well, hopefully the next episode will be just right.
Yeah, Goldilocks. Come on.
Yeah.
I think it's finding its pace now. I think it's more of a sedate move.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like we've said, like it's taking it's world building, isn't it, and introducing characters,
and it continues to do that throughout these 3 episodes. It's built the world up. It's revealed more things.
Yeah.
Revealed more characters.
Yeah, and this episode as well. This episode starts with another not a flashback as such, but it starts in the past. So it starts with a meeting of Picard and Raffi. So we get a bit more of a background to their characters and the events that led up to them falling out, or Raffi falling out with what do you call him? JL.
Yeah, what did you guys think of Raffi's name for Jean-Luc?
Why she should have called him JLP. I think JLP maybe is a but then maybe that's a bit more like a sandwich.
Yeah. Jam, lettuce and pickle.
Yum. I thought it was all right. I think he did a good job of giving us a bit more information, because it wouldn't have served much point of having another episode where Picard has an argument with Starfleet higher ups, because we had that in the previous one. So
that's true. Yeah.
So I think it's a good way of having that event happen off screen, but still relevant and still meaningful relative to the series in terms of his relationship with Raffi, because it ends. That's the point at which it ends, pretty much, right?
Yeah. It's one thing I really liked about that scene was they spoke they spoke a lot about the turmoil that's going on out there, the turmoil of trying to save the Romulans and the terrible situation they're in, and the turmoil of the fact that Mars is now burning. Mars had just been attacked and it was burning, and the fleet had been damaged, and they did it in this beautifully serene area with the sort of sense that still on Earth serenity reigns, even though out on the doorstep of Earth a planet is burning, and that kind of sense of the seat of Starfleet still being this kind of safe, sacred place. I quite that where they all kind of make decisions that affect others out there.
Yeah, like the rest
on
of
the edges.
galaxy.
Yeah, I quite like that juxtaposition.
Yeah, I guess it comes back down to that DS9 speech that we're always quoting, where it's easy to be a saint in paradise, and Earth is a paradise.
Indeed, but not for Raffi these days.
No.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that that in that scene, Raffi's saying, well, it was the Romulans. It was the Romulans behind this synthetic attack, and Picard's like, why would the Romulans sabotage an effort to help them? And then later on, he still has that viewpoint. Why would they? And I think she's right. I think they probably did do that for some reason.
I was going to say, I like how that bit when they're at Starfleet headquarters, she seems to be the one that's, she's got all the knowledge, and she has worked out how to try and convince Starfleet to go ahead with, because of the manpower shortage and the ship shortage. She seems to be the one that's in the know-how, and I think Picard even says, like, you see things where others don't. So I like that aspect of her. She's clearly a really intelligent woman, and she's also one very angry woman, justifiably so. I think.
Yeah.
Is she also, just out of interest, is she growing at her little house? And Vasquez, I thought it was interesting that they name checked Vasquez rocks in the Star Trek episode as well, because that means they're canon. A Star Trek filming location is canon in Star Trek. I thought it was kind of cool.
Isn't that great?
I thought that
is she really cool, is she growing? Yeah. Is she growing space marijuana?
It would look. Yeah, it would seem so.
Yeah.
What's it called? Snake leaves or something?
Snake leaf, yeah.
Also a fair amount of snake leaf induced paranoia, so some things never change.
But I mean, yeah, do they have narcotic laws anymore, or is it more?
Maybe it was synthawana.
Well, no, she said she was suffering from it. It brings on paranoia, so it's nothing synth about it.
Yeah, that's true. Was that kind of I don't know. It does feel like there's a lot of kind of pointers that this is going to be like a more adult series.
Yeah.
Everyone's drinking.
They're all drinking, but they're all very clean.
Yeah. Smoking cigars, smoking weed. It's like Skins.
It's exactly like Skins, isn't it? Man.
Yeah.
Except with a pensioner.
But I think that it was good to have that scene early on, so that we have some background to Raffi, and so it almost feels like this new character fits, because it might, I can imagine, to some, with it, having a new character involved with Jean-Luc Picard, you couldn't just throw them into a scene where they're arguing, and you need to give their relationship some backstory. So I thought it was a good idea to have that early on to set up this episode, considering the end of the last episode where she was annoyed with him, and then he kind of sexily flaunted his wine, and then she said, "Okay, come on back, you wine-making bastard."
Takes, mate. You can ignore me for 14 years. Just show me a bottle of wine and I'm yours.
Gemma, you were saying you were getting a real Sarah Connor vibe from her.
Yeah, although that may have just been where she was living and how she was dressed. Actually, from being with her for a little longer, she doesn't really have a Sarah Connor vibe so much, does she?
But I know what you mean. As soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, of course. Like, in Terminator 2, where she hides out in Mexico for a little while. I felt that vibe as well.
But they seem to be because they've done that with the pilot as well, haven't they? The I don't know, the under the radar pilot. He's a bit of a rogue, but he's not that much of a rogue.
Is I would say, and I like his character, but the introduction of him did make me chuckle because it was like, what more could they have done to show that he's like a super tough guy, kind of renegade? They literally introduce him and he's got a piece of metal hanging out of his arm. And he's not even bothered by it because of how tough he is.
Yeah, he's got a cigar.
Yeah.
He drinks, and anytime if a character drinks on screen, that's just visual shorthand for they've got problems.
Yeah. Unless it's a nice glass of red wine, of course.
Yeah. And then, well, what does that mean?
It means you own a chateau in.
It means you're French.
Yeah.
But I thinking back, it was something. Also, why was one of his holograms Irish?
Oh,
again.
Why?
I mean,
why when you have Irish actors on your cast, does one of your actors display such a terrible hard Irish accent?
Jean-Luc Picard, chief contact with a Q continuum, arbiter of succession for the Klingon Empire, savior of Earth from Borg invasion. Captain.
Are they just keeping up? Because in every series of Star Trek, at some point, they have to have a terrible cod Irish accent. Ticking that box.
Oh, sure, Gemma. I don't know what you mean. I thought it was just fine.
I think what they were actually doing there was I think it's going to turn out that all of his holograms are played by the same actor, but they're all just ever so different. Because he was the navigation hologram, wasn't he? And the first one you met was the medical one.
Yeah.
So they've all got their own quirky personalities, which I have a horrible feeling I'm going to get really tired of. But I might not.
Yeah. I mean, I like that we're seeing EMHs pop up again, and it sort of makes sense that if you... Because it seemed like he was on his own on that ship. He was just... Yeah, it was just... He was there. It was his ship. He was a pilot. So I guess he would need some EMHs to bulk out the crew.
Yeah.
And to stop being lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Space loneliness.
Even though he's a super tough guy,
but he's got
a murky past. he's got history, hasn't he?
He has.
That was interesting though, because I think what he's talking about with his captain, I think that's after all the Mars stuff, right? So what happened with that? I think because he talked, that was about 10. Did he say that it was about 10 years ago or something? And so it's after all the Mars stuff. So, I mean, I guess maybe we'll find out more about that. Maybe not.
Maybe it's relevant, or maybe it's just an indication of Starfleet being sneaky.
Yeah, I think it could be part of his sort of personal backstory, and maybe it won't be. Maybe it won't be sort of particularly far-reaching, but it'll be something that's important to that character, and we'll find that out as we get further into it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, this episode seems to be setting up the ragtag bunch of misfits that's going to help save the day, basically, right? Because we got Raffi, and then she sorts him out. She sorts Picard out with the pilot, whose name I can't remember. I'm sorry. And then we got the doctor as well, the scientist lady. And
when is Space Elf going to arrive? That's what I want to know.
Oh, Space Elf.
Yeah.
I thought you said Space Alf. I was thinking of Alf.
Alf is a space elf.
Alf is a space elf.
Indeed.
No, I don't know. Maybe the next episode.
Maybe.
Because these episodes keep ending before I think they're going to end. I keep thinking there's going to be like one more scene.
I thought,
oh no, it's ended. But yeah, I don't know. But I know who you mean. I think maybe the next episode, because they'll be on their ship going somewhere, Yeah,
I feel like we're all just
Rob,
waiting for 7 of 9. It's like every episode we're edging closer to Jerry Ryan.
yeah, exactly. I keep hoping that she'll be in this episode, and it hasn't happened yet. I'm wondering when we're going to get to see Jerry Ryan meet Picard.
Do you think she's going to join? I want her to join the crew.
Yeah.
I don't want her to just be a cameo. I want her to be a big part of it.
Well, because I know in the trailers
I think she will be. I think
you see her with the two phasers, don't you? Coming in. So I've got this vision of like the next episode, or maybe the one after that. They're going to be, on their way to find Maddox. They're going to be ambushed, and Jerry Ryan has to come and save the day with her, 2 phasers.
Yeah. Oh, imagine if I have a kind of a dream that maybe, they get ambushed and maybe, I don't know, they're surrounded by Romulan ships. Maybe Voyager shows up, Captain 7 of 9.
That would be cool. Or a Borg cube shows up, but it's a good guy cube.
Yeah. But she's not in uniform.
No, she's not.
I've never seen her in uniform.
To be fair, that would be pretty heavy fan service. I don't think they'd go that far. That'd be sort of eye-rolling fan service. But
just 7 of 9 comes in, all the Borg children come in.
But so in this episode, the other storyline that we have running alongside the Picard one is back on that research facility, the Borg cube, and we see Hugh, which I thought was great. We don't get a lot of backstory about why he's there.
No.
Initially, I thought maybe this is a cube that he was involved with, but then we find out later on that's not the case. We get a bit of.
Right. Wow.
It's interesting that the.
Find that out?
Well, no, I think we find out that something happened to this Borg cube after it assimilated some Romulans, right?
Yeah.
But it did seem like why would he have been on board? It felt like he was there because of the project that they were doing, rather than he'd been on that Borg cube. But yeah, you're right. I don't think they said that, but it feels like that's the case.
And going back to what you were saying, at the beginning with little niggles, is anybody else kind of got a bit of a niggle about how Daj's sister's quarters door opens directly onto like a workspace? Because the doors in her quarters, like when the handsome Romulan guy comes through, it's directly into like a corridor, like a working area. There's loads of people outside, and I'm like, it's not very private, is it? I mean,
but they're on a modified Borg cube.
But
I don't.
Yeah, but to be fair,
Borg cubes are massive, though.
Yeah, I mean, like a Borg cube is like 27 cubic kilometers of.
All quarters open straight out onto a busy corridor. They always have done. They did on the Enterprise.
It's not even. But it's not a corridor. I misspeak. It's not a corridor. It's like an active. It's like a big open area, just milling around with people. It's like, I don't know. It's not a great. It's not a great kind of design choice for putting personal quarters somewhere.
Maybe they weren't thinking of comfort so much.
Well, maybe they should.
Put it in your letter, Rick.
But I mean, like what if you're in your underwear and your friend comes in and the door's open and 50 people get to see you and like, it's not very convenient.
Yeah,
it's not. No.
But that was a minor gripe I had. I just think I wouldn't like these quarters. But I do like the story that's happening on that cube. I think there's a lot of it's quite a mystery going on there. It seems like we're delving back into the history of the Romulans and what their beef is with artificial intelligence. It seems to go back a really long way as well.
There was one point where I thought, did the Romulans create the Borg? But I don't actually think that's the case now. But because they mentioned something about shared. I can't remember what the phrase was now.
The idea that former Borg might be able to create a shared narrative framework for understanding their trauma, rooted in deep archetypes, but as relevant as the day's news.
But I don't. That suddenly made me think, oh, they created the Borg. But then subsequently, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
But there's something in the Romulans that fuck the Borg up.
Yeah.
It's because they there's a bit where they talk about how that Borg cube assimilated a Romulan ship, and then immediately afterwards something went wrong with the Borg cube. I'm sure, and I might have misremembered this, but I think they said that these are the only Romulans that have been assimilated.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing Vulcans assimilate, don't we? Because in Voyager, I think we see a drone, a freed drone who was a Vulcan. Yeah. In that episode with Chakotay ends up on that planet, and it turns out that they're Borg. I think we see a Vulcan then.
Yeah, no, I think we've seen Vulcan drones, but
yeah.
Rob, but is that true? I mean, you're the Voyager expert here, so I'm just checking I'm right.
I don't specifically remember a Vulcan free Borg in that episode, but you've got Tuvok gets assimilated, doesn't he, for a short while?
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I don't remember that episode. Great deal.
But yeah, it seemed like, because I was wondering if could the Romulans and the Borg have some sort of shared ancestry that would mean that if maybe there's something in Romulan DNA that when the Borg assimilated them, it I don't know, triggered some sort of fail-safe that the Romulans had put in years ago. I don't know. It's just speculation.
Yeah. Is it the DNA or is it the neural patterns or something? I don't know.
But it's cool. It's cool that there's a mystery to speculate on, isn't it? I mean, I think that's that's something I'm really enjoying about this series is the kind of mystery and the questions that are around it and around the world.
One thing I was wondering is that are Romulans synthetics? Because Daj and her sister are synthetics, but they're made out of regular stuff. Like they're basically, they have flesh and stuff, right? They're not.
Yeah.
So because we know that there was a massive war on Vulcan thousands of years ago, and then after that the Romulans left. So what if the Romulans were like Vulcan synthetics, and then maybe they rebelled and they left?
But then I like it. But then why would this secret organization hate synthetics?
Well,
maybe they're programmed. Maybe they're programmed to. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why they would be, but
maybe that's a way to sort of protect that secret. I suppose maybe they think they hate synthetics, but it's actually because they can never learn the truth that they are the very thing they hate.
How many people would be upset if we found out that Romulans were synthetics?
Lots.
7.
Yeah, like 7. That's
I think it'd be interesting. I don't know if there's anything in Star Trek canon that would say they can't be synthetics. I don't know. I don't know my Star Trek canon well enough. Because I think the Romulans.
I was wondering. I thought maybe the reason the Romulans or the Jacques Vache or whatever they're called, the reason they made the synths attack Mars and destroy the fleet that was going to save some of the Romulans was maybe it was like a bit like the Undiscovered Country. It's just Romulans and Federation conspiring to make sure that there isn't a lasting peace between them. But that doesn't really explain why the Romulans don't like synths. So it's still a bit on.
But that could explain their motivation for kind of sabotaging a fleet that was going to be saving the Romulans.
Yeah, because it's it's exactly like the Undiscovered Country, where the Klingons some of the Klingons are conspiring with the Federation, despite the fact that the Federation's going to save them once that practice explodes.
They can't bear to kind of have peace with the Federation. So
especially when you're if your planet's about to be destroyed, you're at your most vulnerable. So you're probably thinking this might be an opportunity for your enemy to finish you off once and for all. So maybe you wouldn't be, willing to let the Federation in to help you, because you might think that they're going to just completely destroy you.
And in Undiscovered Country as well, I suppose it's the Klingons have a fear of losing their culture, and fear of sort of being absorbed into the Federation and losing something of themselves.
And that would make sense with the Romulans, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
So this episode has what I thought was a pretty great fight sequence at Picard's house, chateau. When the Romulan goons get their asses handed to them, even though they're. I thought it was a good.
They are not all that, are they?
No.
They're taken down by a flaky scientist.
Where did she get the gun?
I don't know. She just found
one of
it
them
on the
had
floor.
dropped it in the shrubbery.
Yeah, she's like, just killed an elite Jack Fash assassin who probably trained for 100 years to be that good. No, just accidentally shot him.
I really like that every table in Picard's house has a gun under it.
Yes. That's brilliant.
I'm assuming that's the influence of his
Tal Shiar friends.
Yeah. I'm guessing he didn't put them all there. I'm assuming that they've. I wonder if he knew that.
He knew.
He knew at least one of them, because I think he knew at least one of them was there. So I don't know. I like to think that Picard did all that. He comes across as a diplomat, but he likes hiding guns.
Yeah.
I do like how each episode, somehow they manage to make you love Laris and Jaban even more. Just when you think they can't get any better, and then they show you them fighting, and I love those two. They're brilliant. My only worry is now that, it did seem a bit odd that Picard didn't take them with him. That he's two most vital people. CSI Laris and Kung Fu Jaban. You probably should take them with you. They might be quite useful.
They're easily the most sort of competent and as you say, useful people that he's met in his travel. They were right there with him from the beginning.
And they would, but don't forget, it is harvest time.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Someone needs to look after the
robots,
the big giant robots.
Even though they live in a world
as well. Someone needs to look after them.
Yeah,
that's true. But they live in a world where there isn't any money anymore. So I guess Captain Picard's making wine for the love of making wine.
Wow.
So you kind of think, well, it's not like, his whole business is really dependent on that harvest that year.
But it's got to be.
It's not a business.
It's got to be some sort of currency, even if it's reputation. And then if you're a winemaker, that's what your reputation stands on.
Now that reminds me of it's quite a minor point, but there's a bit near the end where I'm sure the pilot guy says something about how expensive he is.
Yeah. And see, I don't know how much it costs to go where you're going, or how much this guy charges.
I'm expensive.
I was like, wait a minute, expensive?
Yeah, but he's a rogue, therefore he works outside of the Federation.
Good point.
Space credits.
Exactly.
Yeah, gold press platinum. Yeah, that's a good point. But I was gutted that they weren't coming as well.
They've got to.
Surely we're going to see them again in the series, right?
I hope so.
Did anyone else I'm sure my heart skipped a beat when Laris got that acid all over his jacket. I was like, no, they're going to kill him. He's going to die.
At some point, I was expecting him to get killed.
Yeah.
At some point in that fight,
I thought if the two, he would make sense of all the characters.
Yeah.
For him to get killed,
Mm.
because it feels like we need to up the stakes somehow.
Yeah.
We need to make this more serious. Let's kill off his, his friend. But I'm so glad they didn't.
Yes.
I would have been emotionally compromised if that had happened.
Where's we haven't seen number one very much since their first episode either. I thought maybe he might show up.
In the kennels.
Ah, boo. Yeah, but yeah, that was I was a bit worried too. Although I have to admit, part of me wonders if one of Laris and is it Javan?
Jaban.
Yeah,
is one of them maybe like a spy?
Boo!
Oh,
I
no.
don't want them to be. I don't want them to be, but that's what spies. I mean, spies.
Yeah,
spies got a spy.
They're not a very good spy, though, are they? Because they're ahead of the game. So.
And there's that bit in this episode where Jaban goes to like almost torture or beat up one of the Romulan assassins, and Laris says to him, "We're not like them," or something like that. We're not like them anymore.
We're not like them anymore.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
Just what a spy would say.
That's true. That's true.
I don't think they. I don't. I hope they're not. To be honest, I don't think they are. But I don't know. There's this part of me thinks that maybe one of them is. Could be.
Oh, I was a bit suspicious when the Doctor just showed up out of the blue.
Do you know,
after talking to the O.
Yeah, I thought that you were, Gemma, because you made a noise.
I did.
But then you didn't follow that noise up because you sensed that I would be annoyed that you were talking over a scene. Gemma's got to say something. And that's what it was.
That was what it was, yeah.
It was.
That was convenient.
She did.
I thought.
She did.
Why is she there at the same time?
Yeah, she did
With
murder a Romulan and then be like, oh, I don't know how to use gun. What's this gun I'm holding? Oh. Yeah, very suspicious.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Is it just that the whole...
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, what did you think of Commodore O's homage to Agent Smith and Men in Black with those shows?
It was in. We were saying it's interesting that sunglasses still exist in the 24th century, and they are just sunglasses. They're not space sunglasses.
Yeah.
Don't spray something into your eyes. It's just sunglasses.
Or press your finger on your temples and your lenses.
Opaque. Yeah.
I can't see. I can't see Admiral Nechayev wearing sunglasses, or it just seems a bit odd.
No, indeed. That was incongruous. That was odd.
Maybe a little bit silly.
Very silly. I'm sure that's not what they were going for. I don't know.
No, I don't know. But I mean,
maybe something's been said that because what is she? Is she Vulcan or is she? I'm showing my ignorance now. Or is she Romulan?
I don't think it's clear. I think it could be that she's a rotten Vulcan, or it could be that she is a
rotten Romulan.
A Romulan.
Not
in
all
Vulcan
Romulans
disguise.
are bad.
No, I know, but she's bad, right?
Oh, yeah, she's totally bad. Has there been something said that Romulans don't like bright light or something at some point in the history?
Are you thinking of
Lorca, like Mirror Lorca?
I'm wondering why the hell she was wearing those god awful sunglasses.
It's quite sunny. Maybe it'll be revealed that she does have like some kind of eye condition that means that she has to wear sunglasses.
Maybe
all
nothing
the time.
will ever be said about it.
Yeah,
it'll just be one of those things. Maybe she thought, for this scene, I am going to wear sunglasses, and everyone else can fuck off.
Sheer fucking hubris.
Maybe it's like in CSI Miami. Horatio Kane. Horatio Kane.
Yeah. That was very.
Maybe she wears them so she has to take them off and kind of say a smooth one-liner to kind of set up the episode.
See,
wait
that's some
for
deep
a day.
Because you never see her do that.
I like the uniforms from, apropos of nothing, I like the uniforms from the beginning of the episode. That era, which we get a glimpse of.
Yeah. I thought that was cool. Another apropos of nothing. Picard shouts Raffi just again and again in this episode. I feel like I'm gonna edit together a clip of every single time that he says Raffi. He's like Raffi.
Definitely do that.
Yeah, it's just me. Just me. Just noticed that.
Raffi.
Which they opposed. Raffi. No, never again. No. Go. Don't. Raffi. No, don't. Just don't touch me.
Raffi.
But it's a minor nitpick. It is a name. It's absolutely fine that he says it. But yeah, I think I felt like there were points where this episode maybe lacked some urgency. Like I felt like we sort of got to the point where Picard got onto the ship and he talked to the pilot, and I was like, okay, this is it, we're off. And he's like, no, gonna go back to the chateau for a bit, maybe have another couple of glasses of wine. And there's like, oh no, they've been attacked by some more undercover Romulans. Oh, this is it. They're gonna go straight to the ship. No, okay, they're gonna interrogate the guy, and they're gonna talk about it some more. Get on the ship already, go. But it did feel like they were, the episode ended really strongly. And what did you guys think of the sort of final minute of the episode where we get that moment where Picard says engage,
and we get the music too. We get the TNG music.
Yeah,
that was brilliant. I have to admit that when I heard the music, I was like, "Oh, this is so cool!" I had a Star Trek moment. I thought this, and then he says engage, and like, so cool. And I thought, that was brilliant. That was perfect. I think it was, 3 episodes is enough time to wait for Picard to do Captain Picard stuff, because he's mostly been doing winemaker Picard and Raffi shouting Picard. So those two guys are all right, but what is he, Captain Picard, being all captain and saying engage and tugging his jacket as a
Picard maneuver.
He was as soon as he got on that ship, he was swaggering, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he loved it.
Yeah. But I really liked that moment, because he there was something sort of joyful, and there's a bit of a spark from Picard when he said engage, and it might have just been Patrick Stewart really enjoying saying engage and doing that little gesture, and it was almost like too much of a nod to the audience. But then I thought that was brilliantly sort of undercut by Raffi doing a bit of an eye roll, like, oh god. I thought that really worked. I thought we sort of needed a little sort of acknowledgement that, like, oh, Picard's doing this. And I thought that was great. That was a great decision to have Raffi sort of like just sort of cut through that a little bit and be like, oh, this guy.
I love Dr. Girardi when she comes on board and she's like pleading with him, like making her case why she should be included, and like how eager and bright-eyed she is. I thought that was really, really cool. Like the juxtaposition between Raffi and her. Like Raffi was really cynical and, I don't want to really be part of this team. I'm just coming here and then I'm off. As where Dr. Girardi desperately wants to be involved, and when they say that she can join, she's she's got this massive beaming smile on her face, which I just felt like that as well. Like I'm like her, like really happy to be coming along on this journey.
I like that. Yeah, because Raffi's like, oh, I just want to go to Free Cloud or whatever that place
I'm
was
just
called.
hitching a ride, basically.
Yeah,
There's
really
no
dismissive.
no way I'm going to stay on the ship and be part of the mission. Absolutely.
No.
As soon as we get to Free Cloud, won't see me for dust.
And there's no way that her and the sort of blonde doctor aren't gonna. I mean,
initially,
initially,
they're chalk and cheese. Will
exactly. Yeah,
so,
there's no way they won't sort of clash initially and then form a sort of deep friendship.
No, there's no way. There isn't going to be any kind of Michael Burnham and Tilly kind of dynamic going on there at all.
Absolutely impossible.
Which one is chalk and which one is cheese?
I'd
say Raffi is chalk and
I would say
Dr. Girardi is cheese.
She's drier in the mouth.
Yeah.
Chalk.
You can write on blackboards. You can write on blackboards with Raffi.
Yeah. Whereas the doctor would go well on a cracker.
And on pizza.
Yeah.
Or in a sandwich.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we've quite nailed this analogy. But yeah, it was great to see Picard back in space and raring to go. And that was that ending just really did it for me.
What do you think Free Cloud is? Do you think it's a planet or a space station or something else?
I think space station, I would say.
Yeah, when Raffi was looking at the hologram, there was some dice, weren't there? So is it like either a gambling planet? Is it like a casino planet?
Oh my god. It's not a seedy space bar planet, is it?
Oh, it could be a seedy space bar planet. It could be like Canto Bite.
Yeah.
In the Star Wars universe. Or it could be like do you know, I'm thinking of in the original series of Battlestar Galactica. In the pilot episode, they go to like a casino planet, but it turns out the Cylons are there.
Oh no! Oh yes, they're like underground or whatever.
Yeah, they're deep. Yeah, that's it. They're on the lowest level or something as well. The Cylons are hidden in this casino planet. That's immediately what I'm thinking of.
What about what's that place? Nowhere in
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh God!
Galaxy,
Right, Guardians. Yeah. I suddenly thought of
anywhere in Firefly, basically that isn't in the kind of.
So basically, what we're saying is, in sci-fi, there are a lot of casino / planets, aren't there?
It's a good place to send misfits and rogues.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, I mean, Star Trek is no stranger to going to seedy space bars, particularly in the movies. I think there's kind of a space bar that they go to in Search for Spock, and then certainly in Star Trek V, they go to a kind of a seedy space bar on that planet at the beginning, don't they?
Of course, Picard spends some time in seedy space bars, especially when Ro is in the Marquis.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, I hope they are going to keep up a solid Star Trek tradition and go to a seedy space bar. I'd love that.
It'd be a good chance to see some aliens. We haven't seen many. We haven't seen many aliens.
No, we haven't.
We've seen Romulans and we've seen a few, but
we've seen a few in Starfleet. I think particularly in the background. And that kind of two-tone alien, I'm intrigued by the one that's kind of got a dark chin.
Oh yes, like white.
Not the one that likes. Do you think because I think the people that went to the premiere of Picard watched these 3 episodes, so do you feel like these 3 episodes, when you put them together, they work as a as a sort of that introduction to the series. Like I think they do. I think we get enough from these 3 episodes to sort of to set it up pretty well.
I do. I think especially this last one has added to the intrigue with there's something intriguing about the Romulans that affects the Borg, and I think that is definitely that pulls you in, I would say.
Yeah.
Me anyway.
Yeah.
So and that little bit of spice at the end.
And it feels like in these 3 episodes we've established a lot of new characters and we've done a lot of world building
and
a lot of setup in it. Yeah, to me it felt like these 3 episodes are kind of the pilot, basically. And now the show can run with everything that it's got.
Yeah, I would agree with that, actually.
I think. And I bet they'd be great. You know, now you could go and watch these 3 episodes back to back, and I bet they'd all flow together really well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is a 3-episode pilot, isn't it?
I think.
Because with that ending, that engage ending, that's almost the kind of the jump off point, isn't it?
Yeah. You go into the rest of the series,
I think it's done a good job as well. Like it hasn't had to reference TNG too much. We've had little nods to it, but it hasn't felt like it hasn't. It feels like a familiar story, and it hasn't had to kind of draw too much on nostalgia. You know, as much as nostalgia is great, and any time in this episode we heard that when you hear the TNG music or towards the end of the episode, it's lovely, and you love it. And when he says engage, that's brilliant. But I think it's done a good job of being its own thing and sort of understanding why people like TNG so much, and it's and it's a pretty good job of respecting that post Voyager, post Nemesis world. I think in terms of continuing it on, and also the destruction of Romulus, which was sort of a stimulus for the 2009 Kelvinverse film. I mean, they didn't have to do that. They could have chosen not to, but they did.
You're right. Sorry, carry on, Rick.
No, go ahead. No.
I was going to say they could have decided to ignore that and ignore what happened in Nemesis and kind of strike out and do a whole new story. But yeah, instead of doing that, they've kind of taken. It felt like they've kind of looked at the things that fans are going to be hung up about and care about, like the sort of big events that we've seen in that world of Star Trek, that we're going to want to know what's the impact of that, what's the follow up to that, and then that's that, and they've sort of woven the story around that, and that's really cool.
And to be fair, if you're gonna kind of explore something familiar in the Star Trek universe, maybe the best thing to explore is a species that isolates itself from you and keeps secrets, because that means you don't know much about it. So it's not like there's a lot of canon that you're gonna mess up, because what do we really know about the Romulans?
Yeah, that's true. They've always been a bit of a mystery, haven't they? Even in TNG, we didn't really get a lot of stuff on the Romulans, did we?
No.
Or DS9 or certainly not Voyager. Yeah, they've always been very kind of isolated. But I'd agree with the point that you made, Rick, about the kind of nostalgia factor. How it feels to me like they've got that balance bang on, and yeah, the moment when the TNG theme kicks in at the end and Picard says engage, and it's magical because they've rationed that nostalgia out really sensibly. Like they've not overdone it, and they're not afraid to do it, but they know that if they overplay that card, then we're going to get sick of it and we're going to be rolling our eyes like Raffi.
Raffi!
Yeah. Raffi! Raffi!
Raffi.
But yeah, that's something I'm really pleased with the Picard series. Like, I feel like it was really important to get that balance right, and I think they've done it.
I think they steadily get better. Each one got better. Not that the ones preceding them weren't good, but I think they work really, really well as a three. I can see why at the LA premiere they showed all three together, because, like you were saying, Gemma, when it ends with engage, that's the perfect end point for and the adventure begins. Curious why they didn't do that for the London one. I imagine it's got something to do with Amazon and CBS, but no, I think it's really good. The first one sets the scene, introduces a few characters. The second one furthers the plot a bit more, introduces some new characters, and then the third one really gets you, furthers the plot even more and sets you forward on what's gonna the mystery that's you're going to be investigating. No, I think they're really, really good. Really strong opening episodes. Possibly the strongest in all of Star Trek. I think I've heard quite a few people say that.
Yeah, I don't know that I disagree with that, actually, because I think Star Trek has a bit of a tradition of not necessarily having a strong first season or even pilots. Like TNG's Encounter at Farpoint is all over the place. And it's really interesting to watch now, but it's a long way from sort of the best of TNG, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the first season is really patchy, and you could say the same. You could say the same of DS9. I think that's a bit harsh. I think DS9's first season is pretty solid. Voyager's first season isn't brilliant. It's all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'd agree. Picard's made a really strong start.
Yeah.
And we're in a world where that has to be TV shows don't have the luxury of having a weak first season and then building to something better. They have to be good from the outset.
Yeah.
And I feel like
really.
I feel like they've it might just be me, but they've really, in 3 episodes, which isn't a lot at all, they've made helped the audience to feel connected to the characters that we've been introduced to. Because I know in Discovery it took me quite a while to feel any connection to any of the characters, but within 3 episodes in Picard, I already love Laris and Jaban. I really like Dr. Jurati. And I feel like it didn't take me long to learn their names.
Well, to be fair, there is a much smaller cast than the usual stuff.
Yeah.
But I would say something that I wasn't so keen on about Discovery is that we didn't really get to know a lot of the people on the bridge, and maybe we got to know some of them a bit more in the second season, but a lot of them were there, and I was interested to find out more about them, but we never did really find out much about those characters. Whereas Picard's really it's really taken the time to, every time it introduces a character, it'll give them at least a few scenes, and even if they're a bit of a trope, they're a roughed up rogue who's got shrapnel in his arm, but he maybe has a heart of gold.
Even though that shrapnel would have shattered his collarbone. We're not going to go in about that. That's my nitpick for the episode.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
But once again, it is able to do that because there are far fewer characters. Well, if you compare it to Disco, you have the main core of characters. Even the main core of characters in Disco are greater than in this.
Yeah.
So you have the luxury of spending time with those characters.
That's true.
Yeah, and Patrick Stewart is front and center in this series, isn't he? He drives it, I would say, and he has and as the story progresses, there'll be that sort of nucleus of characters around him that'll maybe change slightly. And we got the other timeline, we got the other storyline, haven't we? And I'm guessing at some point those two stories will merge at some point. But it reminds me a little bit this series, rather than, I think perhaps one of the reasons that it hasn't had the problems that most Star Trek first seasons have had to some extent is that it's a bit more like when the original series cast came back in the films, because you have that beloved character, don't you? You have, I mean, in the original series films, I mean, it was all of them coming back, all those guys. And in this, it's mostly just Patrick Stewart who's coming back. Although, Brent Spiner and Marina Sirtis and Jonathan Frakes are all coming back too. And that era of those films, I mean, I would say that they progress on from the series. They get, I mean, I would say, going back to Undiscovered Country, I think that's a triumph for William Shatner's character. I think he's brilliant. And it's a great. I'm not a huge fan of Generations. It just seems, and one of the reasons I don't like Generations so much is because Star Trek 6 did such a good job of sort of saying goodbye to that original series crew, because they were so loved and so so cherished by people who remember watching them on TV in the 60s, and then they came back and they had these other set of stories for them. And it's a bit like that because we grew up with TNG a little bit, and now Picard's back, and we've got this chance to be with them again and see the stories with them, and it feels a bit more like that, like in terms of what it is as a project. Although it's a TV series, it feels like it's got that energy to it of those original series films.
It's interesting you say that, because I suppose another similarity is that in the original series of Star Trek was very episodic, and there wasn't a whole lot of continuity between each episode. But then when they came back to do the movies, like Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock and the fourth one, Voyage Home, they're all like they follow on from each other exactly. And then even in 5 and 6, they constantly talk about things that have happened, and particularly in 6, that feels they really draw on Kirk's son and how he feels about his son's death, and how he feels about the Klingons and his prejudice against the Klingons, and that all feels like that sort of come from the films. And it feels like the films are the original series films are almost like a sort of a separate entity to the original series, and they took place. It's a similar kind of gap, isn't it? Like, it's not quite 20 years, is it? But it's it's not far off. So I think you're right, Rick. It is a similar kind of thing. It's like coming back to those characters, or that one character after a different period, and it's a different story. It's a sort of a different world, but a really interesting one. Yeah, and I can't wait to see where it goes. There's another 7 episodes.
Yeah.
We don't get too hung up on the pace, because there's another 7 episodes.
You're right, I know. And by the time we get to episode 9, or 10, I don't know why I picked out 9. or 10 or 7, I might be like, this is stupid, moaning about the pace of episode 3 when all this other stuff has happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And that all built up to this, and I just wasn't seeing the big picture.
and I guess we're semi used to being able to binge watch shows as well, so we could just decide to carry on watching most of the time. So maybe that's part of it. because
I'm really enjoying the once a week watching.
Yeah, it's like the olden days.
Nostalgic, yeah.
It gives it, if anything, it gives us a chance to do these podcasts.
Exactly. Well, there is that, yeah.
So,
yeah, that would be, yeah. No, that's a good point.
There's another thing I just remembered from the actual episode. The bit where Not Daj, I can't remember her actual name. I just know her as Not Daj. She called her so-called mother. And was expressing disquiet and upset, and she was turned off, wasn't she?
She was, yeah. I wasn't quite sure. It did seem like she'd been deactivated by some sort of signal that I guess had come from her mother. I wasn't 100% sure whether that was related or just by chance it just sort of just passed out.
I think that was relevant. I think she was being, because she was expressing disquiet and asking questions, and
and we know that her mother is manipulating in some way, because she's not telling her the truth.
Well, also she's not a mother, because she doesn't have a mother.
Good point. Yeah. Yeah, she's a robot. I forgot. Yeah, you're right.
But also, from back in episode 1, you had when Daj called her mother, there was that glitch, wasn't there? Because she mentions Picard, and then there's that kind of glitch, as if someone interrupted the feed and is pretending to be her mother. So I just assumed, I'm probably barking up the wrong tree, I thought that Soji just kind of like, she realised that her mother isn't her mother and Daj isn't okay, and she just kind of like blacked out. But I don't know, I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, I did think that was one possible interpretation.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, but I think it was ambiguous.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it wasn't clear.
Yeah.
And I think
that is simply how I interpreted it.
Yeah, but I think that was meant to be kind of a mystery. We were meant to come away from that scene thinking, "What's okay?
That about?
What?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we were just confused by it and didn't understand it. There's that. Okay. I think it's time to think about wrapping it up.
Unless anyone has any final points.
Yeah. Does anyone have any final thoughts?
No.
Excellent.
Good one. Rob?
No, I don't either. I think I've said everything. Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna buck the trend and have any other thoughts.
No, I've thought all my thoughts.
Yeah, I think I have. Well, I think we've covered everything.
Yeah,
other than,
I think so too.
It's great to be watching a Star Trek series that I'm really enjoying and can't wait to see where it goes. And it's not the only Star Trek series that's coming this year either.
No.
That's the other cool thing.
Yeah, we've got Discovery and Lower Decks. I'm really excited for Lower Decks, actually. I think that could be... That's the one I'm maybe most excited about, because I just don't know what we're going to get.
Yeah. Plus, Rick, you love your animated stuff, don't you?
I do, yes. Yeah. And I know that the guy that's the showrunner for Lower Decks is someone who was involved with Rick and Morty, and I'm a big Rick and Morty fan. Yeah. I know Rob is. Rob's a big Rick and Morty fan too.
I am, I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to Lower Decks.
Well, it turned out we did have more thoughts.
Yeah.
But that's it. No more thinking, guys.
No more thinking. Yeah.
Consider it something.
Cool. Well, yeah. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast, and we're going to try and keep up these reaction episodes as much as we can, unless we suddenly get lives like Rick Everson and go out on a Friday night.
I know, but
cheeky fecker.
I know, yeah, cheeky fecker.
But also, big thanks to Rob. Rob, thanks for stepping in when Rick just abandoned his duty.
Yeah,
Rick so
flagrantly.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Cool.
And yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll be back again, hopefully, with another episode on Picard.
Yeah.
Next week, maybe.
Cool. Yeah.
Indeed.
Cool.
Okay.
Bye.
Cheers, bye.
Do you realize how incredible this is?
It's tradition. You ever noticed her bum? What? Her bum.
Oh no!
I will say
Okay.
fewer things.
Enough of this self-indulgence.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, our website is www.lowerdexradio.co.uk. You can reach us on the Twitters at 10Backward, 10 being the number and backward being the word backward. We're also on Facebook at www.facebook.com/10Backward podcast. You can also email us at crew@lowerdexradio.co.uk. On a personal, individual level, my Twitter is @WiltHerland. Rick Everson's Twitter is @TrekFanRick. And Rick Palmer's Twitter is @Mr. Imhotep.
Hi, thank you again for listening to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you might consider supporting us. We now have a Patreon where people can pledge small amounts to fund our ongoing projects like keeping our website up to date, new audio equipment as we're going along, and potentially opportunities to expand our content. You can go look at this at patreon.com/lowerdexradio. If you don't feel you can donate but would still like to support us, we would love it if you could subscribe to us on however you get your podcasts, through iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or we're on various third-party apps. And if you could leave us a review on any of those, that would be fantastic and we'd be very appreciative.
Thanks again for listening, and please tune in for more podcasts from the 10Backward crew.
Let's make sure that history never forgets the name.
10Backward?
Laddie, don't you think you should rephrase that?
10Backward.
10Backward.
Engage.